You're listening to Driving Performance, your go-to podcast for unmatched expertise in the world of buying and selling an automotive dealership. Each episode features discussions with industry leaders and is brought to you by Performance Brokerage Services, North America's premier, family-owned automotive dealership brokerage firm with over 30 years of experience. We're here to ensure you gain the most reliable insights to confidently navigate a transaction and accomplish your unique goals. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, we prioritize building lasting relationships and maximizing the value beyond the transaction level. Here are your hosts, Jamie Farley and Paul Keckney, for another segment of The Dealer's Journey.
Welcome to Driving Performance. Today we are thrilled to have an incredibly special guest with us, Rita Case, President and CEO of Rita Case Automotive Group. Rita is not only one of the most influential women in the automotive industry, but also a true trailblazer in dealership leadership, philanthropy, and innovation. She's here to share her journey and how she and her late husband, Rick, built a powerhouse in the industry and the impact they've had on their community.
We will dive into her experience and her strategies that helped shape Rita Case Automotive Group. Rita, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be a part of this program, and your introduction was certainly appreciated.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the podcast. I figured we'd start at the beginning. Growing up in a family-owned car repair shop, you were exposed to the automotive world very early on. And I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit about those formative years? What was going through your head back then, and how did it shape your desire to pursue a career in this industry?
Well, I'll tell you, my dad was a car mechanic. He had a small foreign car garage. They owned it. My parents, my mom ran the front end. My dad did the mechanical work. This was back in the 50s. They basically worked on foreign cars like Austin Healey, MGs, Porsches. It was just strictly a foreign car garage in Santa Rosa, California. And in 1959, Honda came through town with the nifty, thrifty Honda 50 franchise. And my dad raised his hand and said, I'll take that little scooter franchise. And that's how it started. So my parents sold the little Honda scooters out in front of their foreign car garage. And then by the mid-60s, of course, Honda motorcycles became more popular as the baby boomers started to get driver's licenses, and the history of Honda motorcycles came through the United States. And in 1968, Honda decided to bring a car to the United States, and they went to their motorcycle dealers in California and asked them if they wanted the franchise, because that was their only distribution, was the Honda motorcycle franchise dealers. My dad said, sure, I'll take the car. I'm more car than I was ever motorcycles. So my dad got dealer number one just by asking for it. He said, hey, listen, since you're giving out dealer numbers, give me number one. So Honda said, sure, didn't matter to them. So my dad got dealer number one. Of course, if we look back now, and that was certainly history making. So in 1970, the first car came to the United States, and my parents were the first dealers to get the car. It was a 600cc air-cooled engine, and we were selling Honda motorcycles with 750cc's. So it was a smaller engine than some of the motorcycles that we were selling with Honda. I was in high school. I had been working in I'd been working in the motorcycle shop since I was old enough to answer a telephone or sweep a floor or polish a motorcycle or put away a part. So I was raised basically coming to the shop after school. And I was in high school when the car came out in 1970. So I drove the car to school to show my friends, because it was very difficult to sell that car in 1970. There was nothing that small. It was even smaller than the Honda Volkswagen Beetle. And but for $1,295, I was selling them at school. I loved people. I stayed in the shop. My parents, we didn't call them a dealership back then. I called it a Honda shop, and just continued to enjoy working with people. Went through high school and wanted to stay in the business, and that's how I ended up, challenging my father at the time that his daughter could be a car dealer, though I had two brothers and an older sister. I was the only one really interested in the business. My sister went off to the medical field to be a nurse and an anesthesiologist. My older brother went into construction. and I was third youngest. And then my younger brother was just really not, he was still in high school. So I ended up challenging my dad to run the business. And so I went off to college. And when I got out of college, I got back. I didn't go very far from home. So I was able to work in the summers and all at the dealership, and continued to pursue the challenge of convincing my dad I could be this dealer. I'd done everything. I'd been every single position in the dealership I had done through my junior high, high school, and college years, except for a mechanic. That was the only job. I was never an actual mechanic. But every other job in the dealership I had done other than the general manager position. So when I got out of college, I asked my dad if I could run the store. I felt I had earned the opportunity. And so he gave me that opportunity, and they didn't come to work anymore, which gave me a chance to show my leadership skills through what I'd learned through college. And that's when I went to NADA and asked them to start a 20 group for Honda dealers, because there was no recognition of the brand at that time. This is 1976. And they started it in 1977, and that's when I met my husband, Rick. He was the dealer, motorcycle Honda car dealer in Cleveland, Akron, Ohio. And I was in California, and as the 20 group structure goes, the dealers are from all the parts of the country. And we were able to put a group together, and that's, I stayed in the business and, again, just ran the dealership in Santa Rosa and grew the business. And then I ended up deciding to marry Rick and moved to Ohio. My younger brother, my parents came out of retirement. They were only 50 years old. They weren't ready to retire anyway. I just said, listen, it was either you or me, Dad. I'll never get listened to if you're hanging around. So I was successful in growing my dad's business, and I ended up marrying Rick in 1980. And they came out of retirement, and the dealership's still operating and doing great.
Awesome. So, question: I know in your book, our customers are friends. It talks about you meeting Rick. There it is, right there. Did you immediately feel the passion together? I mean, obviously, we're both passionate about Honda, but how did it shape into where you are today with Rick? And did you have that vision together right away?
Yeah, well, basically, the Honda 20 group structure is usually like a 3-day vacation with meetings in between. And, the dealers would bring their spouses. And Rick was single and I was single. So everybody else was married. So we sat next to each other, and I was just a ball of energy. I was young, and I just had so much passion to prove that I could be a great dealer, that I put a lot of energy into preparing for the 20 group. I came with ideas. I came with my financials. I knew my financials inside and out. I really proved to the group of all men, I was the only woman in the room, that I deserved a seat at the table. I would bring ideas. I would contribute. And Rick was full of passion and energy to learn the business so that he could be number one in the country. I mean, that was always his goal, was to be the best of the best. So we really fed off of each other, being both single. I visited his stores. He flew out to California, saw my stores. And that's how the relationship really was built, on mutual respect for each other's passion to be the best we could be.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I love that story, and I loved reading about it as well over the weekend, since I ordered the book and it came on Saturday. So it was like a page turner. I couldn't put it down. And one of the parts I read too that was particularly interesting to me too is you guys obviously made the commitment to build the group together, which is very cool. And you started off building by going after franchises that were brand new to the United States, like Acura and Hyundai. How did you manage that, like through that uncertainty with going with a franchise that was completely new? You had no idea how it was going to turn out, if it was going to be successful or not. And can you give us like a peek into what that was like and what was going through your head?
Well, we got married in 1980. And, like I was saying, I mean, our passion was just really off the charts. And I said, the only way we're going to grow is we're going to have to get these franchises for free, because we didn't have the capital to buy a Chevy store or to buy a Ford store. And so we went out. We had the two Honda stores, Cleveland and Akron, which Rick had gotten in the early 70s, when the franchise was basically free from another dealer. And then, so we looked what franchises were coming because we wanted to grow. He wanted to be the biggest, and I wanted to prove that I could do it, So we ended up getting Isuzu in 1980 when it came to the United States. We opened up two Isuzu stores, one in a Radio Shack and one in the 7-Eleven store that were empty. And then we built from there. We got Isuzu, then we got the Acura franchise, the Hyundai franchise. We got Daewoo, Mitsubishi. We got the Mitsubishi stores when that came. We got Kia in the early 90s. And we grew the business because we wanted to be great and big. And we didn't have the capital any other way than to prove to the manufacturer that we were the choice. We could take their franchise that had never been introduced in the United States, and we could put it on the map no matter where they gave it to us. And that's exactly what we did. When we opened the Acura store, we chose South Florida because it was the same time zone as Cleveland. And we wanted to stay in the same time zone, but we wanted to go someplace where we thought the first luxury brand Japanese car would be considered on the shopping list. And we didn't think Cleveland was the best spot. We thought South Florida would be more of a open book to the first luxury Japanese model. And then the Hyundai franchise, similar. We already had gotten the Acura in Fort Lauderdale in the very same year, in 1985, when Hyundai was coming to the United States. We said we might as well sign up for that too. It's the first Korean car ever brought, but we can figure it out. And we were just very creative. We went out and with the Isuzu franchise and Acura and all, we would buy every model that matched that exact brand. So with Acura, we bought a BMW, we bought a Cadillac, we bought a Lincoln, we bought a Mercedes-Benz of the same model, of the similar type, like the small four-door. It was the Integra that first came out, if you remember. So we bought those. We brought same year, so brand new, and we would say, dare to compare. Come in and drive all the competition, and then drive the Acura, and you'll find out it's better than the other brands. We're so positive it's better. We have all the competition here for you to dare to compare. That was our campaign, dare to compare. And we did the same thing with the Hyundai. We got the Ford, Pinto, and or we got the different brands, the Corolla. Anything that was of that same XL was an XL, the Hyundai XL in 1986. And we said, come on, dare to compare. For $49.95, you can buy a brand new Hyundai that's better, and we dare you to compare. And of course, the other models were substantially more in price. So we also had a 5-day money-back guarantee. You don't like the car? Bring it back undamaged with less than 300 miles, and we'll take it back. No questions asked. Back then, it took, at least a week to title a car, so we had no concern about having titled and then having to take it back. So those are the kind of things that we did to prove to the public that you weren't taking a chance. Just come on in, try all the other cars. We promise that we feel like this car is going to be better. And that's how we launched it. And we became the largest volume Acura dealer our first month in business. And we maintained that for, 20 years in the country, or at least 10 years. And then Hyundai is the same thing. We were the largest volume Hyundai dealer. Of course, the location was great. We were in South Florida. And there was an opportunity to introduce a brand new brand. Wasn't that easy to get financing, though, because, a Korean model going to the bank saying, I want to build these brand new, dealerships. And it's a Korean car. They're like, what? So we sold ourselves.
I love the dare to compare. That must have been phenomenal. That's great. So, question for you. After Rick's passing, you obviously decided to keep it growing the group and keep moving forward. What were the challenges? I mean, there must have, not just emotional, but business. What were the challenges that you went through after that happened?
Well, it's always people, once you have a solid group of people committed to your culture, committed to your franchises, committed to your location, committed to Rick and I, from there, it's pretty easy. We ended up in Atlanta because when we were applying for the Hyundai franchise in Fort Lauderdale, we convinced them that we were going to be so great and so successful that they said, hey, why don't you guys take a franchise in Atlanta as well? And we're like, Atlanta? So we flew up to Atlanta, which we really basically probably, I don't even remember having been there before. This was in 1985. And we picked a location in Gwinnett, which was a brand new area of Atlanta. And they offered us the franchise. So we ended up building a Hyundai dealership in in Fort Lauderdale and in Atlanta, Georgia, at the exact same time. We opened them both on opening day, February 18th, 1986, brand new franchises. That's how we ended up in Atlanta. Hyundai offered us Atlanta when we were offered Fort Lauderdale. And then from there, we started a group of dealerships as open points became available. That's how we ended up with Audi, Mazda, Kia, in that Gwinnett area in Atlanta, Gwinnett Place Auto Mall. Because as a new franchise became available in that new market, we went and applied for it. So that's pretty much the strategic planning that we had. That's how we ended up in Atlanta, was just chasing open points, starting with the Hyundai offering it to us. And as far as the challenge goes, Atlanta's only an hour and a half away. It was fine. We were up there pretty much every week, and it's all about people. If you lead by example and you support your people and you demand respect for the community, you will grow a good business.
Absolutely. So I know you are so passionate about Honda. And I noticed, and I was actually surprised to learn in Rick's in the book, that his first new car franchise was actually a Toyota franchise. I was just curious, like, what was it about Honda that drew you in so strongly? And how did you, why did you end up staying so dedicated to that brand despite his early roots with Toyota? So I was just really curious about that.
Sure. Well, Rick started selling used cars in his parents' front yard in high school. So as soon as he had a chance to rent a 10 by 10 shack, he started his little used car operation. He fixed the cars, he titled the cars, he bought the cars at the auction, he sold the cars. It was a one-man show. And this was when he was, just out of high school, 18 years old. And so he was really a car dealer. And what happened was Toyota came in to the country, and he says, I'm going to sign up for this. And he did. So that's how he got that franchise in 1965. Honda wasn't in the picture yet. They didn't come until 1970, really, in the Midwest. So he had that Toyota store. And what happened was he wanted to be more volume. And he heard about Honda, and he knew about the Honda motorcycles. And he figured, geez, if Honda motorcycles sell like they do, the car is going to be great. Because he was a volume guy. He started selling color TVs when color TVs first came to the United States. He was selling anything in volume. That's who Rick was. So he says, I'm going to start selling Honda motorcycles so that I can get the Honda car franchise. So that's what happened. In 1965, he got the Honda motorcycle franchise, and he ended up becoming the largest volume Honda motorcycle dealer in the world. By 1968, he was awarded, like you saw in the book, the picture of Mr. Honda giving him the world's largest trophy. And he ended up amassing Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki all in one dealership, which no other dealer in the country had ever done. He was not a mom-pop shop, which was most of the motorcycle dealers in the country. He was a mass marketer for the motorcycle industry, which had never been done before. So he had these giant motorcycle dealerships with all these brands selling hundreds of motorcycles, thousands of motorcycles. And then he added bicycles and mopeds to them, became these two-wheel mega stores, waiting for the Honda car, because he was really a car dealer. He got rid of the Toyota. He got rid of it just after a few years because it wasn't growing in 1965, focusing on the Honda motorcycles. So when Honda, and so that's Rick's Honda story. Rita's Honda story is my dad was the first Honda dealer, so that's how I ended up in the Honda business. So by the time we met in 1977, he had 4 motorcycle stores that were all 4 brands. He had the 2 Honda car stores, which he had to buy from other dealers in town, because by the time the Honda franchise got to the Midwest, they stopped giving it to the motorcycle dealers. Honda stopped giving the franchise for the car to the motorcycle dealers. And they blame it all on the Dirty 30, which was my father. He was the first 30 motorcycle dealers, because we didn't know the car business. So about 1972, Honda decided to give the Honda car franchise only to car dealers. So that's why they ended up with Buick franchises, Chevy, Ford. They never were given to a motorcycle dealer again as an open point. Only original California dealers. So Rick ended up buying the Honda car franchise after he'd amassed this huge reputation with Honda as being an amazing motorcycle dealer. When he asked for the franchise, when it came to the Midwest, which was in 1972, they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Rick, we've got a rule now. No motorcycle dealers can be given the Honda car franchise." So that was disappointing. So he went to the Ford dealer, and for $10,000, he bought the Honda car franchise from the Akron Ford dealer, and he got the signage, parts, everything, tools, whatever there was, for $10,000 except for the cars. And so that's what he did. He bought it in 1972. He flew to California. He flew back the same night. It was an overnight flight. He signed the deal, got the franchise, had every salesperson and every mechanic and every person that worked in the store drive to every single dealership in Pennsylvania, Chicago, Ohio, every single state around Ohio, and he drove back 100 Honda N600s, which was the model that was being sold, had them drive them back to his dealership, and he sold 101 Honda cars in his first month in business, when no other dealer had ever come even close to that number. And he became the largest volume Honda dealer in the United States his first month in business in 1972. And that's the start of the Rita Case Honda story.
Incredible story.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, question for you, Rita. Obviously, predominantly still dominated by men as car dealers, but we are finding more and more that we're selling stores as brokers to females. What advice do you find when you're talking to someone as a female trying to get into the business? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind that can help move them along their course?
Well, I've worked very hard over the years to prove that a woman could be a great car dealer and be very successful in the automobile retail dealership business in many of the positions. And I've hired and I've trained and I've mentored, but truly it's a very difficult place for women to stick and to make it a career. There are few and far between. There was 45 years ago when I started out. Actually, it's been 48 years ago when I became a general manager. And it's still today, they're very few and far between. And when asked that question, why are women not attracted to the retail auto industry or the actual, the dealership business? First of all, you can't just walk in and be an owner. You really have to learn the business. And to learn the business, you have to work in this business. And one of the reasons why women, I find, I'm not stereotyping women, so I want to be very clear to that. I'm telling you from my experience. The reason I can't get women to stick are 3 basic intuitive characteristics that many women have. Not all, certainly not me, and certainly not my daughter, and certainly not other dealers' daughters, because they've been raised in the culture of this business. But if you go out and you grab a professional woman from another industry, and not necessarily the car industry. And you bring them in. There's three characteristics about our industry that makes it difficult for women to want to stay in the business as sales, service advising, starting other than maybe the accounting department. So the one reason is women prefer to have some sort of commitment on their compensation. And we're 100% commission. That's been the business for years. We've tried different things, but it's never really worked. We've always gone back to commission salespeople. And number two, the negotiating. Women prefer, in my opinion, they don't like the whole negotiating experience. You know, when women, when a husband and wife goes to Sears to buy a refrigerator, she picks the refrigerator. I want that refrigerator, dear. I'm going to go to the shoe department while you negotiate on that refrigerator. They're not comfortable with the whole negotiating. I find they don't, and their feelings get hurt when somebody buys a car for $5 less from another dealer after they spent 3 days. They're like, what? I thought we were best friends. And the third thing is it's the unpredictability in the hours. Now, we all are sensitive about the hours. We don't, bell to bell has been out of my vocabulary since 1980. We have scheduled hours, reasonable hours. We want our associates to have a balance in life, but it's difficult when you're 100% commission and Mr. and Mrs. Jones are going to buy this beautiful new Odyssey. It's going to be, you got it ready. It's fueled up. It's going to take delivery. They're supposed to be there at 1 o'clock. You get up at 3 because you're in your girlfriend's wedding and the shower's tonight and you got to be there for the big celebration. And they call you up at 2:30 and they say, I'm so sorry, we can't make it till 3. Then you have to split your commission with Johnny or miss the bridal shower. They don't like that unpredictability of the hours tied to the commission, tied to the negotiation. Those are the three characteristics of our industry that so far haven't successfully changed. And that's one of the reasons that I have been unable to really secure a lot of women. Now, that being said, our first hire when we opened the largest Honda dealership in the world in 2002, my first manager hire was a woman, and she was working at a used car dealership in Miami. I loved her energy. I loved her. She says, I want to be a part of what you're doing here, because everybody could see it being built on the highway. It was just this massive dealership, 6 stories high, and people hadn't seen dealerships with parking garages like this. She stopped and she says, I don't know what you're doing here, but I want to be a part of this Honda store. I hired her because she is today the general manager of that dealership, and it's the largest volume Honda dealership in the United States. So women can make it in this business very successfully. It's just finding those characteristics. You can't really teach that. You can't teach the feeling of negotiation if you haven't been raised in it, like my daughter and many other dealers' wives or dealers' daughters. That's my opinion. Though with the manufacturers having grown the public companies, so there's many more like AutoNation and Penske and Lithia and Group One and Asbury, and they've got classes and schools and universities. More women are getting introduced to the car business in a more of a structured way. So I think we'll see more women in the car business in the future.
I appreciate you sharing your opinion on that, because those 3 things are very real. I mean, that's what it is. This is a topic that's also near and dear to my heart, of course. So I appreciate you being a leader and a role model out there too. And I love that story about, your general manager, and now she's the general manager of your largest Honda store. That's really incredible. And it makes me too reflect on something you said earlier on when you started the 20 group. You said I was the only female in that 20 group. And I mean, that happens today, obviously, and things have changed in a positive direction from where they were, back then. But gosh, what was that like for you sitting in that room? I mean, I know you were so passionate. It's what you knew. You are intelligent and you were ready to share. So all those things obviously probably just, catapulted you to a position where you were able to garner the respect from the 20 group members that you were with. But I guess in the beginning, like what was that like, and how much work did that take to kind of earn their trust and respect?
Yeah. Look, that's a really great question, and I thought a lot about that as I looked back on how did I end up building such a level of confidence that I could go into a room. A matter of fact, just last year, I was telling somebody recently that I went into the Mazda meeting. It was a group, it was like a grassroots meeting, so it was just in southeast of the United States, and it was up in Charlotte. And I was the only woman in the room. Again, I was the only dealer that was a woman in the room. And I looked around and I thought, wow, that's crazy. Because it's such a great business and it is so much fun. Once you've got it in your blood, you really can't switch professions. But in the beginning, what I realized is that it was not, I went to college, and what I learned in college was that I was just selling a product. Like as if I was selling clothing, designer clothing. I was selling furniture. I was selling jewelry. It's just I'm selling cars. It's really nothing different. So why should there be a reason that a woman could not be successful? So when I got out of college, I had confidence that all I needed to prove was that I knew the auto industry. So I didn't do anything other than learn. Other than work, I learned. That's why I reached out to NADA. That's why I read Automotive News cover to cover. There wasn't internet and all this stuff back in the 70s. I mean, I read every book that was out about the car business. I read everything about the industry so that when I went into the room and there was a question, if I felt I could answer it, and I felt that my answer was something that the other dealers wanted to hear, I would always speak up. So I gained confidence through knowledge. Many of the dealers didn't take that level of enthusiasm and commitment to the industry because they were men and they could wing it. But I was not. I was expected to have something they wanted to hear if I was going to speak. And I've said this over and over in many of the opportunities I've had to speak to women in careers or college. I'd said, listen, if you're the only woman in the room, if you're in a male-dominated industry, you need to be the most educated. You need to dress for success so that you command respect when you walk into the room. Dress is very important when you're the only woman in the room. They can look at you one, or they can look at you another way. And I don't care how many women want to say that's whatever. It's the fact. And it's not going to change in my lifetime, their lifetime, or my grandkids' lifetime, no matter how many seminars there are out about it. You have to dress for respect. Then when you open your mouth, you better have something to say that they want to hear. I always wait. When there's something, there's a conversation and everybody's talking about a topic, I wait to let everybody say what they think they know and they've said. And I wait. And then I say what no one else has said about the topic because I'm always so well read. That is the way that I was able to get a reputation for being asked to be on, so many different startup boards of not just the auto industry, but the parts and service and those, other related topics, because they knew that I would be well read and that I would come prepared. And that's what you have to do if you're the only woman in the room.
Yeah. So speaking of other parts of your life, philanthropy, let's talk about that a little bit. I know that's a big part of your life. And it seems to me you spend a lot of time with young boys and girls that are at risk. Can you just talk a little bit about that part of your life?
Well, I want to give back. It's who Rick and I have always been. We first got the bug, if you want to say it, because you do have to kind of get the bug. Someone's got to introduce that emotional feeling to you. Was back when we had the 14 motorcycle, bicycle, and moped stores. And at the holiday time, the kids would come in looking, oh, I wish I had a bicycle. I wish I had a bicycle. And we would see this. And Rick and I thought, this is in 1982. Rick and I thought, you know what? We're going to ask the community, because we did lots of commercials, lots of radio, we did TV, we did lots of commercials. So we were known for, we had a voice. We had a voice in our markets. So we did these PSA commercials where Rick and I would stand there with bicycles and with the Christmas tree, and we'd say, listen, community, it's Rita and Rick Case. And we would like you to bring in any bicycle that you no longer need that's in your garage. And in our bicycle stores, we will fix it up and we will get it out to a child that wouldn't have a chance to have a bicycle this holiday. Bring in your old bike. We promise we'll make it like new, and we'll get it to a child that would not have a chance to have a bicycle of their own. And that's how we started the Rick Case Bikes for Kids. And we've been doing it now for 42 years. We've given out well over hundreds of thousands of bicycles. And basically, it's the community brings in their bicycle, and we just kind of make it possible to transfer it on. And that's how we got introduced to the Boys and Girls Clubs as well, because that was one of the places we thought could use our bikes, as well as churches and Habitat for Humanity and even the public school system. And we're known now for doing that. And just the whole feeling of how easy that was to add, it was a win-win, because the community felt really good about getting rid of the bicycles that they didn't need in their garage, to tricycle, the bicycle. We didn't care what age it was. We would find a home for it. And then we became a conduit for that philanthropy. It was a hand up, we always said. And with that, when we went to Fort Lauderdale in 1985, we moved to Fort Lauderdale to build the Acura and the Hyundai store. We joined the Boys and Girls Clubs there, which there was 3 boys clubs, and we ended up expanding that to Boys and Girls Clubs to 14 clubs now, serving over 12,000 kids. And we believe in that because these are children that are healthy, and they're born into the wrong environment. So I say they're unhealthy in the environment that they're living in, the community, the disadvantaged areas that they're in, but they're healthy kids. They're our future leaders. So we threw ourselves into that, believing that's where we could make a difference. Both our opportunity to run a business, which a charity or an organization is a business, so we helped them expand. We knew that if we could provide fundraising that could build more clubs, and we could provide programming, these young kids would have a positive opportunity to view life as, I can make it. I can get to the next grade on time, which is our number one job. If you can get an education, which is the greatest gift you can give anyone at any age. If you can give someone an education, that's something no one can ever take away. And I believe education was what got me to where I am today as well. It built my confidence. It built me a chance to pick my career path, gave me choices. And I want to pass that on to these young boys and girls that are living in an environment that makes it very difficult for them to get support at home with homework. They're usually living with their grandparent or one parent who's striving to make ends meet, and they don't have time for the homework and for the support. And that's how we got in the Boys and Girls Club. So over the last 45 years, we've supported that and taken that on to the next level of education. And the same thing with Horatio Alger, which is another organization that I'm very honored to be a member of. It's all about scholarships for those that are the most deserving and also the most desiring high school youth in the United States, to give them an opportunity to get higher education. These are our future leaders. It's our responsibility to help them. And there's not much government funding for this particular situation.
Well, and I was going to mention that, the Horatio Alger recognition that you received, and then also this year, the 2024 Time Dealer of the Year.
Oh.
Congratulations on both of those. Yeah, congrats to
Was
you. That's
amazing.
very impressive. I was curious, what aspects of your journey do you feel were the most influential in earning this recognition?
Oh, when they called my name to be the actual Time Dealer of the Year, it was just an emotion I could hardly even believe. Although for 45 years I'd gone to NADA and seen the big portraits in the lobby of all the finalists, And I thought, someday my picture's going to be there. And of course, as you could imagine, every year there would maybe be one woman. In the 55 years they'd given Time Dealer of the Year, there would be one woman. And over those 55 years, there were 4 other women that were chosen. And I always admired, someday it's going to be me. I'm going to have, all I wanted was my portrait. I didn't really expect to ever be chosen. But I attribute it to the fact that I've made a difference in this industry. I have worked my entire career to prove that if you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. This industry is an open book to be whatever you want in it, as long as you're willing to be persistent, persevere, work ethic. I mean, this is I've never worked a day in my life. I love what I'm doing, which is probably why I'm as successful, because I see it as just so much fun working with people. You know, when people ask me, what do you do? I say, I sell freedom, because in America, the car is freedom. We're fortunately we live in a free society here. We're not bound by some of the other structures that other countries are. So when you say, what's freedom in America? It's your car. So I sell freedom. But I think it was my philanthropy. I have basically touched every organization in South Florida and in Atlanta and Cleveland with my hand up. Mainly my time and my ability to get others to give. So coming up with creative charity events where I could raise millions of dollars for organizations. I've been recognized for that. Selling the first Honda car in the United States. Everybody always thought that was kind of fun. And just my passion for the industry, my passion for honesty, my passion for treating our customers as our friends, our associates as my family, and my community as my home. If you do that in any business, you will reach the pinnacle of excellence and success.
So well said. Question for you. When you look at, you've mentioned you're on a number of different boards and startups. Maybe goes either way, but mostly, is there anything that as you went through that process that you were able to bring back to the auto industry as a leader in this industry, that you kind of had an aha moment saying, I can bring this back to what I'm doing today?
Yes, I have fortunately had an opportunity. I'm right now the president of the Federal Reserve Board for the Miami branch. I'm on the FIFA board for the World Cup here in Miami. I've helped Nova Southeastern University grow into one of the largest non-profit universities in the United States. I'm on the Cleveland Clinic board. So I've had a chance to, of course, the Boys and Girls Club. I've had a chance to, be surrounded by many entrepreneurs, many philanthropists, and many committed professionals to their industry. And when I put all that together, there's one thing that we all share. And I've brought it to our company, and I will make it my legacy, one of my legacies. And that is providing an opportunity for others to succeed. And that's really what a board does. We all get together and we are analyzing a situation, whether it's the FIFA board or whether it's the Cleveland Clinic. They've all got their own goals. And if you can gather people that you can get to provide opportunity for them to see the way, to give them support, they are going to take the mission and be successful. And that is what I have brought to our company, is I want all of our associates to reach their personal goals, to reach not just professional, but personal goals. If they're going to be part of my family, I'm just as interested in their personal goals as I am in their professional goals. So we are very, very careful to make sure every one of our associates knows me. That's why I'm not really big. People say, why don't you have a lot more dealerships, Rita? You could have so many more and be like other dealers that have, 80, 100. I'm just a small dealer group. I have 12 dealerships and I'm $2 billion. So they're big dealerships. And I would prefer to know all of my associates. And I do. When I go to a dealership, I talk to the porters, I talk to the counterparts people, the cashiers. I don't need to talk to the management. I do that on Zoom and other ways and conferences. When I go to the dealership, I want my associates to know I care about them. And that creates loyalty. And that's the same thing on a board. Board members do the same thing with the subordinates they're trying to, organize. So that is the key to a business success, is if you have associates, they need to know that you care about their future, about their families, about their goals, and show them a career path, as well as do the same thing with your community.
Well, you are an incredible role model and inspiration. So thank you for sharing that. Paul, did you have any questions before we wrap it up, to be respectful of Rita's time?
No, I just want to say, as an individual who's been in this business for 4 decades now, I'm absolutely thrilled with your passion in this business. And you got me back excited about it again. It was a really, really enjoyable time. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. I love to talk about the industry.
Well, we would love to having you. Thank you so much, Rita. You're so generous with your time, especially because you are running your automotive group and you're on all of these boards. And then, of course, you're doing all of your philanthropic work. So, that's amazing. And that's incredible in and of itself. So we were very honored to have you today. And we're excited to see what's next for you and what's next for Rita Case Automotive Group.
Well, Jamie, thank you very much. And Paul, I do want to tell your viewers that if anyone wants our book, just email me at ritacase@ritcase.com, and I will send you a copy for free.
Awesome.
And one of the chapters in the book is start early, plan your day, and work your plan. And that's how I get so much done in a day, is I plan my day, I work my plan, and I never take no for an answer. So those are some of my secrets. I hope you'll request the book from me and you'll see my career path.
Those are the best closing thoughts. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Driving Performance. The show notes include links to any resources mentioned in today's show. If you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review. If you're considering buying or selling an automotive dealership, reach out to us at performancebrokerageservices.com or send an email to info@performancebrokerage services.com.